The open road is calling, it's got stories to tell. I've got a few of my own flowing from a deeper well. The cherry blossoms blooming, shimmering clouds, pink and white, and I'm leaving the old things behind.
Welcome to the Midlife Capers Podcast. I'm your host, Kara Highsmith. In each episode, we will hear from people, everyday friends and neighbors kinds of people, who have taken on some sort of adventure in midlife. Maybe it's a creative project where they explore a previously hidden talent. It might be pulling up stakes and moving to a new, unexpected location just because. It could be changing the way they show up in the world. The point is, they are doing something that pushes them outside their comfort zones, responding to those internal nudges, allowing themselves and their lives to take a different shape than they imagined. I hope you will find their stories inspiring, perhaps motivating, and keep coming back as we have new conversations. Welcome back to the Midlife Capers Podcast. This week, our guest is Dawn Belletti Martin, and I had the pleasure of going to a very special high school with her in Nashville. And so I'm very excited to catch up and find out about some of the things that have been unfolding in her life for the past however many years it's been since we've kept up on social media, so I know a good bit of things, but I never did really get to hear your story about how you moved into this later in life yogi thing that you have going on. I really want to hear about that. But the first thing I always start with is welcome. And then asking if you would share a little bit about what life looked like before 50 for you to get started.
We've adventured a lot. We've moved sometimes where the job has taken us, but for a lot of years, it was all about our family, our kiddos, making sure they were in good schools and did we have a good community for them. And so that was really my focus entirely. My husband went to work. He did his thing. I took care of the home, the household. I was never going to be that woman that something tragic happened to him and I didn't know how to pay the bills or mow the grass or do anything like that. So I could handle home and he took care of work. And that was kind of how we did things.
Did you go to college after high school,
I
or
did
did
go to
you?
college. I graduated with a teaching degree. And, but as you know, and I'll share with your guests, my husband and I met in high school. We were high school sweethearts and we got married midway through my time in college. So between my sophomore and junior year, he was a senior when we got married. And we were both really eager to start a family. So we counted the months down. This is when I'll graduate from college. It's safe. Let's try this. And so when I graduated from college in May of 92, I was already pregnant with our son Travis, who was born in October of 92. I was not able to stay home right away. That had been our hope, but we quickly realized, I think as a lot of young people do, that we didn't quite have the funds in place and the systems in place for me to do that at that point. So I did start teaching school that August, and I continued to teach until Travis was 3.5. Finally, Wayne had an opportunity to interview for a job that was in San Antonio, Texas. And I honestly was so sheltered, had lived in Tennessee all of my life that I could remember, and had to pull out our atlas to see where exactly San Antonio was located, because where is he taking me and why are we going there? So we ended up moving while I was still on maternity leave with our second son. And that was a big change for me because I had lived in this really sheltered, really quiet place. I knew my people, I knew where they were. I didn't have to branch out. I didn't have to do anything that was really scary. And I was very shy, very scared. I didn't like to order through like a drive-through. It was terrifying to me, like to have somebody hear my voice and, oh, what if they think that I don't know what I'm doing or whatever? And so I had a real tendency to just kind of be a wallflower. So when we moved to Texas, I made a very conscious decision to change that about myself.
Mm.
I cannot, in good faith, move to another state halfway across the country where we have zero support system and not be able to stand up and use my voice. Like, I
Mhm.
have to build a life for these kiddos. And so I chopped my hair off and said, you know what? When I get there, nobody knows me. I can be whoever I want to be. So it was the very first time I really reinvented
Mhm.
myself
Yeah.
and got to Texas. We had been there about a week, got one of the flyers at the grocery store that's like what to do with your kids in the summer
Mhm.
in the city. And there was an ad in there for a mom's group. And I said, okay, this is it. This is my opportunity. Would have never done anything like this in another setting by myself. And I walked in, there were two ladies in the room, and I said, hi, my name's Dawn Martin. Like, I'm walking into a business meeting. And I said, I just moved to San Antonio and I need some friends. And that was literally how it started. And within probably 2 years, I was president of that group and then ran it for 2 years. So it was a really big opportunity for me to try something new. And when it worked, it was exhilarating. It was like, oh
Yeah.
my gosh, I don't have to be this version that really people had written for me. My
Mhm.
parents had told me I was shy. My parents had reinforced that. They had even somewhat encouraged it, I think,
Mhm.
because when I got older, I realized they were really shy
Mhm.
and kept to themselves a lot and really stayed in their bubble. So it was like the world opened up for me that I can do really whatever I'm interested in doing. And especially it made it easier that I was doing it for my kids, I felt like.
Yeah.
So this is what they need. They need to have a strong, independent mom who can be out there in the world with them and advocate for them. And so that's kind of where it started. And then as our children started getting older, I started having this desire to do something, but it wasn't teach school anymore. Um it wasn't anything that I had traditionally done before. And
Mhm.
I realized that I had a passion for massage.
Uh-huh.
So this is when our daughter was 6 or almost 6. She was starting kindergarten. And so I started looking into massage therapy programs. And earlier, maybe about a year before that, my husband, who has always been so supportive of anything that I want to do, he said, you should go ahead and go. Go if you want to go. And I was like, I
Mhm.
had this nightmare that one of my children had been sent off to war, which is not a great comparison right now with everything that's going on. But I had that
Yeah.
terrible fear that my child was taken from me without any warning. And I realized that it wasn't quite time yet. I still had more to
Mhm.
do with her to make sure that she was in a good place. And so we waited
Yeah.
until the mid semester break of her kindergarten year. I knew she was doing great in school. She had an awesome teacher. She's going to be okay. And we kind of started working out the logistics. I signed up for school. I became everybody's mom at school. Most of the people in the class were quite a bit younger than I was.
Yeah.
I was a later in life student. I would have been
Mhm.
35 then. Most of them were very early 20s.
Uh-huh.
So I was everybody's mom. I was the practice teacher on the weekends, held study groups at my house. We had flashcards, we had practice tests, we did our presentations, kind of just became my jam. So I started to realize, oh, I think I do like kind of helping people still. I don't necessarily want to be in a classroom 8 hours a day, but I
Yeah.
still do like to share things with people. So I got my massage license and I did that for about 12 years.
Mhm.
Worked a couple of times in some salons, but mostly did in home massage.
Okay.
And I eventually, for the last about 7 years, I did mostly massage with hospice patients. My mom had ALS
Oh, yeah.
and we had gone through all of that. And one of the things that they said would help her the most was massage. And it did with all of the muscle atrophy that people get because they just can't
Mhm.
move their bodies anymore. So her doctor's office actually started putting me on a referral list. And so I was sometimes driving upwards of 100 miles in a day to
Wow.
get to a family that they couldn't find anybody anywhere else. And I felt very blessed that I had this gift that I could give to a family. I understood what they were going through, what their life was like in this moment, and to be able to come in and give somebody a hug. Sometimes I would massage the caregivers. It might be a husband, it might be a
Yeah.
mother. I would take care of both people while I was there.
Yeah.
And that was a really big gift. And then, so we got all the kids out of the house in 2018. And so I was like, oh, wow, the world literally is my oyster now. I can do
Yeah.
anything that I want to do. And then COVID hit.
Yeah.
So we were getting to know our grandchildren and really starting to enjoy spending time with them. And we just got slammed with COVID, and I actually turned 50 in 2020. So it was going to be my big year. And I probably, from the time I know definitely I threw my own birthday party when I turned 40. I didn't ever want to resent anybody because they forgot my birthday. You can't forget it if I invite you to my party and I remind you. So
That's a good idea.
I'm a party, so come celebrate with me. So I kind
Yeah.
of started doing that myself, and all of a sudden I was turning 50, and Wayne had said, I we had decided we wanted to do something really big, something really epic. I had taken him on a catamaran cruise through the British Virgin Isles when he turned 50. And so he wanted to reciprocate and do something for me that would be on that same level. And so he had planned this amazing trip. I didn't know where we were going. Um, I just knew it was going to be amazing. And he had worked all the details out. And then COVID happened, and we were supposed to go to Greece, and there was no Greece. That if they had locked
Yeah.
down, they would not.
Yeah.
They did not want us to come, but they also did not want to give us our money back because they needed to hang on to it for the
Yeah.
solvency of their country. So they hung on to it until they could reopen, and then we were able to go. But in that time, I had my birthday, and I refused to let it go by unnoticed. It's a big one. I wanted to
Yeah.
celebrate it.
Amen.
And so we did a little thing in town. We rented an Airbnb. We had a musician come. He hired a chef to come, and we did this really great night. Then we still had this whole week that we were supposed to be in Greece. So we rented a house in the Galveston area in Texas, and just he took all the food so we could stay in the house. We could be safe. We had my Jeep to drive on the beach. We got up early one morning, went to the grocery store, bought some cheap little blue chairs at the grocery store, and went and sat on the beach. And that morning was the first time we had sat and really talked about, what do we want to do? Where do we want to go from here? Like, the world is in this really weird place, and we've been stopped from doing a lot of things that we want to do and that we're used to being able to do. How do we right this? What do we need? And what I needed was space. That December, we were finally able to get away for a few days, and we flew out to North Carolina. And if anybody who has known us well in our adult life the last 20 years or so, when we make a decision, we move on it. We don't we don't ponder it for too long.
Yeah.
And so we came out. I had reached out to an agent before we came. We arrived in this little town in New Bern and immediately were smitten. You ever watched a Hallmark movie? Ever read a Nicholas Sparks book? It is this town. It's just
Okay.
sweet, quiet, charming, cute, hokey, all the things. So we had about 8 houses, I think, that we had planned to see. Not necessarily, like, just kind of getting an idea, getting a feel for what's out there. We had some very specific criteria. We wanted at least 2 acres. We wanted to be on a body of water. So we had, we kind of wanted to see what was available out there. And lo and behold, we look at all these houses. We get to the last one, and our agent's been telling us for 2.5 days, I really think you're going to like this last house. And we had seen it online, and we're like, I don't know. It's got a lot of wallpaper in it. It's it's pretty rough. And sure enough, we walked in. Actually, we walked in. I was still stressing about the wallpaper. Wayne turned the corner and saw the kitchen. He's the cook in our family. And he just said, oh, wow. And I said, okay, this is our new home. So we got here and I realized I couldn't transfer my massage license because I still
Whoa.
really wanted to be able to do that. I wanted to be able to do it some. I never did it enough that it was sustainable for life, but it was nice. It was an extra bit and it just made me feel good. And I started looking into transferring my license, and North Carolina basically said, No, you can just go back to school again and do 200 more hours this time." And
No.
I was like, That doesn't sound fun to me. That
Well,
sounds
especially with all the experience you already
yeah,
had under your belt. Yeah. Yeah.
exactly. So kind of pressed pause on that. And then we had a rough, trying to think. Our oldest son was expecting his first baby with his wife in July. He became ill in August with some prior health complications.
Yes.
So we kind of were going through some stuff with him. So it was kind of good that neither one of us had any commitments to anything at that point. We
Yeah.
were able to go back to San Antonio and help them and be there, help with the baby, that sort of thing. And then unfortunately, that next January, he passed away.
Yeah.
So I spiraled for a little bit, like,
Yeah.
to be expected.
Sure.
But I
Sure.
had been toying with the idea of doing yoga training since COVID had started. I had had a couple of people reach out to me who knew I did yoga and had me do like a class with them,
Mm.
like this virtually. During COVID, and it kind of lit a fire. It was like, oh, that was fun. I enjoyed that. It kind of took these things that I really love. I love yoga. I love teaching people, put them together. But of course, during COVID, there were no in-person yoga teacher trainings. And
Yeah.
I really felt like the true experience of yoga happens when people come together.
Yeah.
And so I wanted it to be very authentic and real, and I wanted to get the full experience out of it. So after our son passed away, we kind of started talking about what's life going to look like now, because now this is not our choice anymore. This was just kind of
Mhm.
dropped in our lap, and how do we
Yeah.
want to handle it? And we both are big joy seekers, and we don't want to walk around being sad sacks. And so how do we change that up? So I went to a yoga retreat here in the area for a 3-day weekend, and again just came away feeling like so much lighter, so able to manage everything that was going on in my head and my heart. And I just knew that this is something I need more of. And
Mhm.
I need to figure out what that looks like. So we talked about it. And again, Wayne, 100% supportive. He's like, go somewhere where you can really immerse yourself into this experience. He asked me as we were talking yesterday, kind of about this call. He
Uh-huh.
said, 25-year-old you, would you have been able to imagine what 52-year-old you did? Because I
Mhm.
got on a plane, flew to a place I had never been before outside of the country, got driven out into these sticks in Cabo in Mexico,
Yeah.
to go sleep in basically a tent for 19 days and learn how to teach yoga. And absolutely not. 25-year-old me would have panicked and
Mhm.
gone running for hiding. So I love that about getting older, the confidence that
Mhm.
comes. I don't feel older in the sense that like I feel old and I'm not capable and whatever. I just feel strong and I feel so
Yeah.
confident and capable in my abilities. And I really have a good sense, I think, of what I'm good at and what I'm not,
Mhm.
and where, like, can I stay in my lane, or do I need to, can I push and make my lane a little bigger? What does that look like? And so I did.
Do
I
you
went.
think uh, do you think that the steps you took when you moved to San Antonio all those years ago and decided I can't be timid, I can't stay small or and insulated anymore, and you took that risk to venture out. Do you think that that was maybe kind of laying the groundwork for being able to take this even greater step?
Definitely. I think it was just every time I would step outside of my comfort zone, I
Mhm.
would be rewarded with whatever fruit came from that experience. And so
Yeah.
then it continued to build. And so, yeah, it's definitely taken me to that place where I still can sit in places like that and have a moment where my brain tricks myself and I go
Mhm.
back to that, like, oh, I'm feeling a little scared. I'm feeling a little shy. Like, what if they don't like my question, or what if my answer is not good enough? And I have to remind myself that's not you anymore. You're okay.
Mhm.
And nobody's going to hate you because you answer a question incorrectly, even. They're going to
Yeah.
tell you the correct answer.
Yeah.
It's okay. Um, and so I did that. It was an absolutely life changing experience. I faced some fears. I trusted people with my heart in a way I had not allowed to happen before. I'm usually the strong one. I'm the one that kind of holds everybody else together.
Yeah.
And at least I say that. Probably if you asked Wayne, he'd laugh a little bit. But out in the world, I'm the mom, and I take
Yeah.
care of everybody. I finished 20 days, 21 days of yoga training, and we taught on our last day. And the teachers are giving their impression of your teaching, kind of some critique, and everybody's getting like told what it is that the teacher sees in them, what attributes they have, whatever. And so I'm like, oh, this is gonna be so fun. This is gonna be so exciting. He's like, you're just an earth mother. And I was like, I knew that already. Really to do this for 2 weeks to find that out, but that was kind of funny. So I
Yeah.
just own it now. That is just I'm just mom. That's what I do.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, it was great. It was a great experience. And I wasn't sure how I was gonna use it or what opportunities were gonna come. I just wanted to
Yeah.
have it. But then things just I feel like when you open yourself up to the possibilities that the university has for you,
Mhm.
if you open yourself up to seeing them, kind of tiptoeing through the door, if it's a little scary, it'll just lay things out for you. Now, it also sometimes throws a load of poo in your lap, and
Mhm.
that happened too. But everything that my yoga training has taught me is that we have tools and we have skills to help us get through that. It doesn't take the pain away. It doesn't eliminate it. You're not suddenly just joyously happy, but you have the ability to move through the hard things and
Yes.
get back to the place that feels good. And so I got back home. I taught my daughter and her boyfriend, and another young couple came out for a visit. They were like, oh, you just did your yoga training. Can you teach us a class? So we moved all the living room furniture, and I mean, those 20-year-old boys sweat. They were, they
I think
uh,
it is Lynch boys, is it?
they were like, whew, this is a lot.
Yeah,
So
that's great.
that was really fun. And so I was like, okay, this may be, kind of what I do. It's not any big deal.
Mhm.
And then I'm on Facebook a lot. And so I had shared my journey once I got
Yeah.
back and what had happened. And a lady from my neighborhood who I had waved at the pool, not really
Mhm.
had any interaction with, she all of a sudden felt really called to reach out to me. She'd never done yoga before.
Mhm.
She just said, I knew that I needed to connect with you. Okay, great. So she reached out. She said, let's meet at the clubhouse and sit and talk about some things. Okay. And she had this whole idea for me to teach in our neighborhood because we are so isolated. We're a good 40
Mm.
minutes anywhere that there's a gym, a yoga studio, anything like that. And so she said, I think people would love to do yoga here in the neighborhood. And I was like, I'm game, but I don't really know how to start it, who to
Mhm.
talk to. She's like, I got this. She had lived in the neighborhood. She's lived there since her boys were very small, so probably 15 years. And she said, I got it. I'll take care of all of that. I'll get the key to the clubhouse. I'll get permission for you to do it. I'll have it blocked on the calendar. All you have to do is show up and teach. So she gave me this incredible gift. And I built this community of women that we had for over 2 years. They would come every Monday and Thursday night and do yoga. And it was just so nice. We were the yogis in the hood. We had our own little shirts. And, and so it was just a really nice way for me to ease into it. I'm not sure I would have been comfortable walking into a studio, interviewing for a job, that sort of
Yeah.
thing.
Uh-huh.
Um, And then we made this move a year ago onto the island. So when we first moved to North Carolina, I was terrified of hurricanes. Still not a big fan,
Mhm.
but in my mind, it was going to be like every other week. We're like hunkering down, boarding at the
Yeah.
windows. It's like, I don't know. I didn't. So we moved 30 minutes from the ocean, not, wanted to be a little bit inland. And then after living here for a few years, we just both we were craving our people.
Mhm.
We have great community, good neighbors, but it's a very quiet, reserved kind of community. A lot of people are in bed by 8:30 or 9. Wayne and I are like, "It's 10:30. What are we gonna do now?" And so we need a little more energy. So we found a house on the island that hit the marks, and we moved over here, and a yoga studio had just opened in October. We moved here in May, and it literally is walking distance. It's 6 minutes that way from my house if I walk, 6 minutes door
Nice.
to door. So just such a gift. Like, I feel like so many hard things have happened, but
Yeah.
then there's also been so much good that
Mhm.
can't I can't overall say life is bad anymore. I definitely went through a little phase where I was like,
Over time.
life was hard and it was not fair and I did not like it. And why do
Mhm.
we have to do this? Um, but I've been able to move through that. And I do have contracts with my remaining living children. I made them, made them contract with me that they cannot die before me. That is the rule.
Yeah.
We like dark humor in my house, so we're able to keep things light
Yeah.
that way. But I also teach beach yoga here in the summers, and this will be my third summer to teach beach yoga, and it is an absolute passion. There's
Yeah.
nothing more fun than having someone who decides to get up early on their vacation and come to the beach to hang out with me for an
Yeah.
hour and do yoga. And my biggest rules on the beach is don't do anything that hurts. And if you see the dolphins, tell me so we can tell everybody because we all want to see them. That's like,
Yeah. That's
so I
awesome.
think that's my message to everybody is
Yeah.
seek those moments of joy. What is it that you love? Do you love the
Yeah.
mountain? Do you love the ocean? Do you love lakes or rivers what is it
Yeah.
that you love? If there is a way that you can test it out and see if that will make you happier than where you are right now, it's not necessarily the stuff or the things or even the place, but it's the energy that you get from being in a certain
Yeah.
place. You don't have to live in the nicest house in that place. Would you be happier living in something much smaller and more modest, but be able to live where your heart's really happy?
Yeah.
And I think that's been like our big realization, like that we have this time. And honestly, if we were to sit here and we call them our hot tub conversations, we don't have a hot tub right now. So I'm a
Mhm.
little sad about that. But we'll sit out on the porch and just enjoy the weather. And I couldn't tell you what we'll be doing in 5 years. Like, I
Um,
feel like our life is just so free and open right now. And we know we can try things on. And if we don't like them, we move, like living way out in the
yeah.
country and being really isolated from people. As nice as that sounded during COVID, that wasn't really how we wanted to live. And
Yeah.
so we changed it up again. And so that's kind of
Well,
the
is
story.
there anything that you would do differently in how you have navigated through the various ups and downs of your journey? Or has it's because it sounds kind of like you're just taking everything that comes as it comes and just figuring out how to adapt to however that's going to impact your life.
Yeah, yeah. I was thinking about that yesterday. I was like, the only thing that I could think of was that I might have gone ahead and moved to the beach sooner than
Mhm.
closer to the island.
Mhm.
But then that doesn't work because I didn't know the things that I know now. I
Mhm.
didn't understand the way that it works. So I'm not sure that I would have felt comfortable. It might have given me an anxiety that I didn't need to go through.
Yeah.
Um, so, and we're fortunate that we were able to move and then sell a house and move, and move
Yeah.
again. I understand not everybody has that freedom and not everybody's going to have that scale to make those big changes. But I'm very happy that we have had that opportunity, and I will share
Yeah.
that with anybody that asks or wants to know. Like, wait to don't wait for happy to show up. Like, you got to chase
No,
it. You
yeah.
got to go for it.
Yeah.
And I think, probably the only thing that's been hard for me, and Wayne knew this would be a struggle for me, is being away from our grandchildren and our kids.
Yeah.
But if you think about the number of hours in a day or a month or even a year that you spend with family, even if you live close by,
Mhm.
they're busy with their lives. They've got
Yeah.
their commitments. They've got their friendships. Would we see each other more? Probably.
Yeah.
But what I've learned is that the time that we do have together is so good.
Yeah.
Where like if you live down the street, you're going to run in, you're going to pop in for 20 minutes while mom runs to the grocery store. You're going to do whatever. You're going to have this little, I get 7 days in the summer with my grandkids, just me, my husband, and the kids. And we just go all in. Like, it is their favorite week of the year. It's my favorite week of the year. It's so much fun. When we get all together for a big family gathering, we don't do it for just an afternoon.
Yeah.
Thanksgiving is an entire week of time together. Family game night every
Yeah.
night. So there's something so deep and rich that happens when we get to spend that kind of concentrated time together. Everybody's cleared their calendar. Everybody's ready to just be together. And so I
Yeah.
think that's been the best lesson for me that I struggled with a little bit in the beginning, was like, oh, am I deserting my kids and my family? Am I
Mhm.
doing something wrong by going after what will ultimately make me happy on a day-to-day basis? And it's just taken some time and experiencing it to know that our grandkids love us like so much. We love them so much. We don't feel distanced from them. Our kids
Well,
are all thriving. So
And, the more you can give yourself permission to show up for yourself and to honor what you really need, I firmly believe the more you will be able to give to the other people who are important in your life.
absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm able, if they do need me, I'm there 110%. And our kids they're so good. Like, I had went through this past 2 years, my dad had been ill and he passed away last June. And, gosh, my kids showed up for me in ways that were incredible.
Yeah.
My 28-year-old son volunteered to spend the night in the hospital to keep him in the bed so that I could go get sleep. My
Yeah.
daughter, when one of the first crises happened, we were still mourning the loss of our son. And so
Mhm.
we had gone to Mexico to spend some time with friends that we had not seen since his passing. And I was really needing that time with those
Yeah.
friends, especially there were
Mhm.
some certain girlfriends that there was one who was like, I just can't wait to get my hands on you. And I think she hugged me for like 5 days.
Yeah.
And my dad had a crisis. He was in the hospital. And my daughter got on the phone with me and she said, don't you dare get on a plane and come here. I've got this
Yeah.
until you can get here. She's like, I know you're not going to be able to fully enjoy your time, but she's like, you need this. And so that's like so good. That makes me feel good. And I think we've taught our children too. Like, our daughter and her boyfriend are about to move to Colorado. Just there's nothing calling them there except that they love that part of the country
Yeah.
and they don't have any kids yet, and we can do it. Let's go. My son and his wife, hopefully by the end of the year, will be back in Scotland living there. And so I
Yeah.
think by us setting this example, they understand much earlier in life than we did that they can choose what their world looks like and how they want to live it. And I think that's amazing because I didn't have that. Neither one of us had that advantage coming up. It was just like, you got to graduate from high school, you got to go to college, you got to graduate, you got to get a job. That's what you have
Well,
to do.
and where we went to high school, it was especially, um, a drilled in message because we were in a magnet school, and so going to college and getting the good career was
That was
just
it.
that was what you did. And so, deviating from that plan that was laid out for you was, it anyone who did dare to do it was, they
Yeah. It was
going up,
it was a lot of pressure. It
yeah,
definitely, I mean, I would say our experience in high school shaped how we raised our children
yeah,
academically. The
Yeah.
expectations that we put on them, we probably put some expectations on them to lower what we expected
yeah,
of them because we wanted them to, we burned so bright in high school.
Yeah.
And then a lot of us really had a hard time afterwards because it kind of fizzled out.
Yeah.
We'd given so much and it took a
yeah,
long time for a lot of people to kind of come back from that and rebuild their coffers and understand what had even happened, and so
Yeah.
I was excited about this opportunity to kind of reinvent who I was. So it's not unusual for me to kind of go, let me try this on. Let me see. I love being this age. I think it's funny when I hear someone refer to us as like older people. I go, where? What are you talking about? That's not me.
yeah, yeah,
Because I don't feel older. And I think the perspective that we have at this point is now we're to the age where we started feeling like our parents were older.
Mhm.
And all of the misconceptions that I had about things that my mom was feeling, because we had boomer parents and they didn't talk about their feelings, or at least mine didn't talk about their feelings very much. I wish they had more because I feel like we could have all learned from each other. But I make it a point to try and share these things with my kiddos. And so I like to,
Yeah.
where I can, plug that in the places where I think it might help somebody out so they're not shocked later. So,
no, absolutely. Because when we think of midlife, or when we hear someone talk about midlife, it basically goes in one of two directions. Either you've got the tragically comical man going through a midlife crisis who buys the ridiculous convertible, gets an
right.
earring, and that kind of comical caricature. Or you think of your parents, where everything's starting to break down, all your warranties have run out, and you don't feel good, and all like every conversation is complaining about your health. And so my midlife is either trying to reclaim your youth or running too fast toward agedness. And there is this whole world of opportunity. Instead of a midlife crisis, I am trying to encourage, with this podcast, I'm trying to encourage people to look at it as a midlife opportunity.
Mhm.
It's just a matter of be willing to say yes to something
Mhm.
that may not make sense in the moment, or that isn't what you would normally do with your life, and and embracing that,
Right.
and how all the things that it can bring to you. So
Right.
and I love that really have modeled that very thing. But it's you each phase of your life, you have done the brave thing, and you also have been more raw and open and honest about the hard parts than a lot of people, the most people I know. Yourself breathe sometimes
Mhm.
in
Mhm.
that,
I
but
had Yeah. The trauma sits, it lives there. And
Yeah.
so, like, Travis passed away when he was 29. I say he outsmarted the system. He never had to turn 30. He never went over the hill. Or more of that dark humor.
right,
But
right.
his little brother is turning 30 in a few weeks. And there's no reason that I should be concerned, have any issue. But the truck has hit me twice now in my life. It's
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
finding out that he had the heart defect was getting hit by a truck. Losing
Yeah.
him was getting hit by a truck. So I know that sometimes the squirrel gets hit by the truck and it's just
Yeah.
over,
Yeah.
and so you have to kind of work through those feelings. You can't just sit on them, because I think that's when people get really, really mired down in the pain and the hurt and they can't get
Yeah.
past it. And
Yeah.
I've seen a few examples in my life of people who have just shut down and stopped living. And as soon as Travis was gone, I knew I will not let that happen, because
Yeah.
it's not fair to me. It's not what I'm here for. I'm not here to just be
Yeah.
sad and miss him. It's not fair to the people who love me,
Yeah.
who want me to be happy and feel good, and not that they just expect me to be joyously happy, but they understand if I have a moment, but they also are really glad that most of the time mom's just pulling out another stupid craft for us to do, and can we do tequila shots while we do
Yeah.
and that's another thing, perspective, having gone through what we went through when our boys were babies. If sometimes people would be afraid to tell me about things with their kiddos that they were concerned about, because they're like, oh, well, I don't want to bother you with it because it's nothing like what you went through.
Yeah.
And
I've
I
heard that too.
try to impart to everybody that I meet, your hard is your hard. Like, all you have is this relative plane that you've lived on. Your hard is your hard. And
Yeah.
it may feel really hard. Is there anything I can do to help? Like, what
Yeah.
can I do? Can I give you a massage? Can I take a walk with you on the beach? Can I do some yoga with you? Do you just want to watch a stupid movie and laugh, cry? Like, what do
Yeah.
we need to do? Um, because I think that's where we get stuck as people. And then you get to an age where you've had enough hard that you just stop even trying, because why
Mhm.
bother? Something's just going to get me again. And I'm like, no, not if I outrun it. I'm gonna keep
Yeah.
moving. Can't catch me.
Yeah.
Um,
And I think at this age where we are in this midlife stage, we have had a fair amount of hard accumulated.
mhm,
And it can be very easy to say, well, I'm just gonna hunker down, ride this out to the end. But it that doesn't mean that the nudges to do something more
right.
aren't there. And it's a really unfortunate thing to let that keep you from doing something that
Mhm.
could benefit. I mean, like, you're talking, can I can I walk with you? Can I do some yoga with you, or just watch a stupid movie together, whatever it is. If you just kind of bide your time until whatever end comes, then you miss out on the possibility of changing someone else's life and helping them navigate their heart to the other side of it.
Right.
Um and yeah, I mean, I think having that perspective is a gift to you and to the people who benefit from it. And yeah, I mean, that's what I really want out of this whole endeavor, is to help people hear conversations where they can maybe see a way out of a tough spot, or through to this thing they feel led to do and don't know where to
Yeah.
start, or don't have the courage to start.
Right.
And just let
That.
them
Yeah.
it doesn't stop here.
Yeah. Yeah. And there's no need to settle. And even if there's hard happening, there can be growth happening at the same time. And I
Yeah.
think that's, the hard doesn't have to stop everything. And like, I have this to give back to the world. I haven't let the world beat me down. I'm like, let's go have a great weekend. Let's go
Yeah.
new and refreshed and feel mindful and be excited about what's coming next. And so that's really like just I think that's always been my message is let me get through my hard and then let me use that whatever I learned to make somebody's else hard maybe just a little bit easier. Can't take it away, but can I tell you something that you were worried about and I can tell you you don't need to worry about it? Okay, great. Can I tell you that it's going to get better? If I can do that, I would like to do that. And so that's kind of where I've always worked from ever since Travis was in the hospital as a baby. Like,
Yeah.
how can I make this easier for you? So, because I'm the mom, that's what I do.
Yeah.
Ready.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Well, this has been fun.
Yeah, thank you so much for taking the time, Dawn, and for sharing all of your story. It's been I really think that it will really speak to someone or maybe a lot of someone. So,
well,
well,
very
thank you
good. Well,
again. I'll talk to
all
you
right.
later.
Okay, bye. Take care.
I'm gonna do something new. I'm gonna turn these wheels into wings, flying through the endless blue, finding my own way, drinking from new springs, from the mountains high